Well, it's Sunday, so we might as well get into some religious horror, am I right? So tonight in movie reviews, we're going to be talking Diabolic. Stay tuned. What's going on, scary movie people? Welcome to the show. I appreciate you tuning in for another brand new review. Like I said, it's Sunday. So what better time for us to look at another horror film that's based in religion? This is something that I don't know about the rest of you, but this is always such an effective subgenre of horror for me, just because I grew up religious. And so there's a lot of stuff that gets placed in these movies that at one point I very much was terrified of as a child. And getting to see this when you're older, those movies still end up being very, very effective because, again, that's just what you know. I know I'm not the only one. Let me know in the comment section if that's you too. But that helped me find the film that I was going to be doing for y'all tonight. So tonight in movie reviews, we're going to be taking a look at the new film, Diabolic. Now, before we jump into that, I want to give a big thanks to my friends over at Harpoon Media for facilitating this for me. And of course, at the same time, make sure you are smashing that subscribe button, hit that follow no matter where you are tuning in to catch this review, because I have other religious horror reviews up on the channel for y'all to go and check out, in addition to a number of other great horror films, TV shows, games, and books that you can look into on my channel as well. And it's movies week, so we got a few more movies that we're going to be getting to here. This is just the start of all the good things coming to y'all here. Stick around to the end of the review, and I'm going to tell you what else is coming your way this week. But let's not waste any more time, y'all. It's time to get this sermon started here. Let's talk about Diabolic. A woman's hope for a miracle cure turns into a nightmare when she confronts the vengeful spirit of a cursed witch determined to claim her as a vessel for her evil power. As she returns to her childhood home, the religious sect that she grew up with might be holding secrets that will unleash an even greater evil than she could have expected. And there it is, y'all. That is Diabolic. Now, again, with religious horror, what's going to help make it more effective is how steeped in reality it ultimately is. Realistically, we know that we can't know about every religion that's out there, and even the ones that we feel that, oh, we know this, and this. You got to remember, people make up religions and sects and cults all the time, so it would be impossible to truly know about every single one that's out there. But when it comes to filmmaking, again, the more you latch on to the realistic, the scarier things can get. And we'll talk about that more here in just a little bit. To jump back here into the story, expand on that a little bit more, our main character, Elise, has been experiencing increased amounts of blackouts and terrors that she just can't make sense of, but she's fairly positive it's connected to her childhood growing up in a fundamentalist sect. Now, it's suggested to her by her psychologist that in order to really get past this trauma, to find out what's really affecting her and find a solution, hopefully, that she needs to go back. She's gonna get some answers. This is really going to put all this behind her and hopefully really work as the cure that she ultimately needs. So she mounts up with her boyfriend Adam and her best friend Gwen, and they make their way back to where Elise grew up. And as you can imagine, returning home is obviously going to do more harm than good, because very clearly, if she can't remember all the ins and outs of her childhood and stuff is clearly being repressed, usually, whether it's in real life or whether it's in film, Repressed memories means that some terrible, terrible things have happened, and opening that Pandora's box might do a lot more than just bringing your memory back, right? So they get there, she tries a cleansing ritual that's being ran by another member of the sect who was interested in her when they were both younger, along with his mother, and unfortunately, this ritual doesn't really have the cleansing effect it's supposed to, and instead, we discover that an evil presence from Elisa's childhood is still latched on to her. Now, throughout the rest of the film, we end up seeing flashbacks of Elisa's life when she was younger in the sect and some of the terrible things that she was put through due to their strict rules and upbringing that's there. And this is very much juxtaposed against a deceased former member named LaRue, who actually happens to be a witch. So we do get a decent amount of information on what happened to Elise in her childhood and what she very well could be repressing. But again, at the same time, we're also seeing the same kind of treatment that Elise went to happen to this woman LaRue. Hers is a lot more extreme, but it's still supposed to be seen as these two kind of went through a lot of the same ordeals here. Now, films like Midsummer, House of the Devil, The Empty Man, Mandy, The Ritual, Immaculate, The First Omen, these are all films that have been released here in the last decade plus or so here. And it kind of shows that, again, a cult, a sect, a religion, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to get into. I'm not trying to offend anybody with it. But no matter what denomination it ultimately is, again, this is kind of a fairly routine outing in horror. Dealing with cults, religious cults, fanatics, this is just the bread and butter, really, when you come to the horror genre, honestly. And again, what differentiates it from one film to the next is how much it's really steeped and based in reality. We can't really use the term grounded. That's one I like to use on the show. I even used it recently in my review for Primate. I say recently, but you're going to see that as that releases a day after this one that I'm dropping here for you. But grounded's not really a term you want to use in religious horror, because then you start arguing like, the devil is less believable than a witch. And all of that collapses when, of course, all of it is really an indictment on modern religion. And the whole idea here is that you don't have to believe it. They believe it. That's what makes that scary, is that they believe it so hard they are willing to go through life and death, not necessarily to defend that belief, but to live within that. And I guess what I mean to say is that a film can portray a religion as having all these rules and morals and mythology that very much exists out in the world. But if you really want it to elevate the material, then you're going to want to ground it. Gotta get away from that. You're going to want to really try to have some kind of basis in reality, something that's actually out there. And the writers here of Diabolic, Mike Harding, Tisha Madsen, and Daniel J. Phillips, who's also the director here of this film, they definitely did their research into going into making this FLDS cult as shockingly real as possible. If you go and do a little research on the background of this film, they did a lot of research so that a lot of what's shown here in the film, as outlandish as it may seem, it's stuff that these cults are really out there doing. And I say cults again, I get some people are going to use a different term for it, but it's whatever, honestly. The horror here definitely works. Phillips, for sure, provides scares with characters seeing things that others can't, ghastly imagery that sticks in your mind, and just an overall evil feeling the moment Elise and her group get back to her childhood home. Now, you might accuse the film of using the less is more approach, but in reality, that only really applies to the witch herself, which Phillips wisely makes us wait till close to the end to give us the full reveal. There is a lot of buildup throughout this entire movie to where we're catching slight glances, and it's blurred and it's dark, and you don't really know for sure what you're seeing in those particular cases. There's a good shot at the beginning there, but again, it's very much obscured. And this works really well because by the time we finally see the witch, it has been built up for us. We are ready to have the curtain pulled back, and it still manages to be scary. It is still very effective. So I love the way that the scares are very much set up here in this film. But on the flip of that, though, it does feel like there's a couple of corners being cut here in order to build tension and friction between certain characters. You know, I mentioned that Elise ends up going back with her boyfriend and her best friend, and we find out that there's a number of secrets being kept from her, whether it's between the two of them or the sect itself. And the film starts to shift to become more of a revenge story by the end of it because of a lot of these things. And it left me conflicted with a number of the deaths that happen in the third act, only because in some of these flashbacks we get to see what LaRue the witch. LaRue ends up doing a couple sacrifices. She kills a couple of kids at the sect in order to commit these sacrifices for her Dark Lord. And the kids are innocent. It's not like the kids did anything wrong. So it kind of pushes the idea here that some of the manufactured friction, it seems like kind of harsh, but it really is. It's manufactured friction here that it just doesn't need to be there. Like, these characters can still die. I don't have an issue with that at all. But honestly, making them innocent would not only increase the scares here, but then at the same time, it just doesn't seem so cliched either. And I'm not saying that that wrecks the film. It doesn't. But out of all the things that are going on in this that kept me very much immersed, those like slight bits there with the people around Elise kind of just took me out of that immersion a little bit. And I just really felt that there was a different way to do that. But the acting supports it all regardless. Elizabeth Cohen plays Elise, joined by John Kim as her boyfriend Adam. Mia Chalice plays her best friend Gwen. And the three of them are doing the vast majority of the work here in this film. And I cannot wait to see Cohen in much, much more here after the release of this, honestly. You know, she gets a chance to play Elise in three very distinctly different ways throughout this film. And honestly, it seems like such a behemoth task that she is very much game for, and able to make it that every time you're seeing this different version of Elise throughout the film, it doesn't feel like there's anything that has the previous Elise like matched up with them. It's not like a mirror image, and I love that she's able to make them so very, very different. Seraphine Harley, who plays the witch LaRue, also shines, as LaRue's kind of supposed to be like a funhouse mirror opposite version of Elise. So while, yeah, there's a lot of very big differences between the two characters themselves, what they go through, again, is supposed to be kind of mirrored up to each other so that the motivations still seem the same. Ultimately, the film succeeds based off its effective scares, its eerie tone, and its terrific performance from Cohen. But again, some of the writing just doesn't serve the people that are around Elise, and it ends up being a little cliche, like it's low-hanging fruit to set up conflict, and that takes away from these other characters really adding to the story, because it makes their earlier actions just seem out of place, and it takes away a lot of that progression. So ultimately, I have Diabolic at a 3.5 out of 5. I definitely think that this is good religious horror, and while it might not be the best, it does have the ability to stand up with a lot of other films in this subgenre that we've seen released here over the last decade plus. Again, you can go and check out Diabolic for yourself right now on digital platforms. It's available to rent and to purchase. Check it out. Come on back here, check out the review, and let me know ultimately what you thought of it. And I want to hear from all y'all in the comment section. What is some of the religious horror out there that you absolutely love? I've named a few for you earlier on, including some favorites for me, like Midsommar and The Empty Man, but I'm curious which ones stick out in your mind. Give me something besides The Exorcist. I know, obviously, that's legendary right there, but give me something else besides that, you know? That being said, y'all, again, you are going to want to make sure to smash that subscribe button, hit that follow no matter where you're tuning in, because it is movies week. And I kind of already spoiled one of the ones we're going to be talking about, but this week coming up for you here, folks, we're going to be talking Primate, we're going to be talking ZombieCon Volume 1, and in honor of the St. Patty's Day holiday, we are also going to be talking Leprechaun 4 in space. So if you don't want to miss out on any of those reviews, make sure to hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button. A lot of great horror goodness coming up for you. But that is going to do it for me tonight. I appreciate you tuning in here to check out this review. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.